We are back. Hello and welcome. It's your favorite podcast, The Stakehouse, back live on air. I'm Conal McCabe coming to you live alongside my co-pilot, Lucas Dazinski is in the house. How we doing, Lucas?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since we've kind of spoke.
I mean, look,
Recorded a pod, to be honest, but I feel like everything's been really busy over Christmas and stuff, so looking forward
no,
to
look, I think we should let our fans, our millions of viewership in on the truth here. And ultimately, we were winning so much money prior to Christmas that
Yeah.
we were actually not allowed to run our podcast anymore. The bookies taking real issue with the amount of money that we were taking.
Doing
off
some
them.
charity work for the bookies, right?
Yeah, I was sweeping the floor in Ladbrokes there, and all of this kind of stuff. So it's like, but luckily we've now reached a settlement with them. So here we are. We're back. We're live. We actually hit quite a few winners over the Christmas break each, but obviously they weren't broadcast, so no one gives a toss about them.
Doesn't count. Doesn't count.
Doesn't count. Doesn't matter. We play by the rules, and we're here for game week 21, talking all things Premier League, talking tips, talking predictions, and helping all of you hit a few winners. So without further ado, let's launch straight into it. And up first, it's your lot, Lucas. Up against the not so mighty Manchester City anymore. What are you thinking?
With and without my Brentford hat, I think this is going to be a good game. Obviously, City not really playing well recently. Everyone knows that, and I feel like Brentford do have a few injuries, but I feel like the players are slowly coming back. And despite the injuries, we have actually played quite well, considering the lineup we had against Arsenal, for example, at home. I feel like we controlled the game. A few silly mistakes meant that the half time was 1-1 and we ended up losing 3-1. But I feel like we held our own. Saying that, I think Arsenal are a better team at the moment than City. Smash Southampton, wouldn't look too much into it. But yeah, I feel like City is a good opportunity to post City. So I'm going Brentford +1. And so that basically means if Brentford lose by 1 goal, we get our money back. So, a bit of insurance there. Brentford always keep it quite tight at home. So yeah, I feel like Brentford +1 at 1.83 is probably a good bet, and that's what I'm going to be going for.
And that's an official tip, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know how much I love to oppose you at any given opportunity. This is not one of the situations, though. I absolutely love
For
this
once.
bet. I love it. I think it's a great bet. I'm all over it. The only thing I don't agree with what you just said is that Brentford like to keep it tight at home. The G-Tech is an absolute fortress. Brentford score for fun there. And I also have an official tip on this game, but I think we can be a little bit more bullish. You look at City,
Okay.
I know they've just beat West Ham 4-1. It was a terrible West Ham side that actually should have posted a lot more than just one goal.
Yeah, if you look at look at the XG, it was 1.91 to 1.34. So actually,
Not a lot in there.
4-1, but it was actually quite a close game against, like you said, a West Ham team who just sacked their manager. So that's how good they're doing.
Yeah, and that was their manager's last game when he'd basically lost the dressing room by the looks of things anyway. You look at City's game before against Leicester, the most possibly mediocre side in the league, and honestly, Leicester bossed a lot of that game. Absolutely bossed it. City might have 2 wins under their belt, but City are not back. Absolutely not. And I think Brentford will put them to the sword here. Brentford have scored 4 goals or more in 3 Premier League home games. They've scored 3 goals on multiple occasions as well. And I think we can look at backing the Brentford goal lines here for decent profit. So my official tip for this game is Brentford to score over 1.5 goals. Okay, regardless of results. That is in there at 2.5. Okay, so Brentford just to score 2 goals or more at 2.5, and I really wouldn't put people off the higher lines. You can look at Brentford to score over 2.5 goals at 6, and you can look at Brentford to score over 3.5 goals. Yes, you should consider it at 17. All of these bets are absolutely in play. I will be backing all of them as singles. When I talk about my ACCA at the end with this one, I will be referring, however, to the core shout of over 1.5 goals at 2.5. But My prediction is that Brentford win this game. I think they'll win 3-1, 3-2, that sort of game. City's balance in midfield is just not right. Kovacic does not have the positional sense. Rico Lewis has been talked up an awful lot. Personally, I think he's overrated. And it's just a massive Rodri-sized hole. We come back to it time and again because it's still there and it still exists. So
They're talking about spending 90 mil and getting another centre back, right?
well, I mean, yeah. Personally, that's not the area they look especially
Yeah.
short to me. But the problem is with replacing Rodri, what do you do, right? Because Rodri's back at the end of the season. You
Yeah,
can't.
but it's not. It's beyond Rodri. Like, it's one player. It's not going to change him from like first to whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're so far off the pace. It's not. It's not Rodri. It's something more.
It is something more, but Rodri is the catalyst.
Yeah, okay,
He
but
was
it's one
given-
player. Look at the squad. Like, you can't say all of a sudden they've lost one player and they're not great. It's not that.
I can.
Nah,
Rodri's the Ballon d'Or winner, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure, but it's one player. Like, your team still performs without it. It should still be performing to a decent level without him, right? There shouldn't
But
be like
what's the common denominator from them winning 7 out of 8 league titles and being where they are this season?
Okay, that could be the start of it, but I'm saying that their performance doesn't. It shouldn't reflect just Rodri going. Do you know what I mean?
I think
being injured.
I've got no doubt now that their problems run deeper than that, absolutely. But I believe that Rodri and the loss of him in that midfield area, I've talked time and again, I think that position at the back of midfield is most important in a football team. To remove him out of there, just with how good he is, and I think City have a real problem in trying to replace him. Let's just focus on that for a second, right? Because if you're, Tchouaméni, or you're another very solid number 6 that can't start for their team and might consider a move to City, why are you going to do that to start for half a season and then you're going to be replaced? It's a real problem for City, and they've just got to try and ride this season out. And as you say, now morale is affected, team spirit is affected, Guardiola's doubting himself. You're having issues with players like Jack Grealish, who are, and other people who are potentially, stuff going on behind the scenes. They're not in a good moment. And again, Brentford, whatever we agree to disagree on the problem, City, what we can both agree on here is that Brentford can get a result, right?
Yep. All right, let's move on.
Chelsea, Bournemouth. It's yours again.
Sorry?
It's yours again, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone a similar thing. So I've gone Bournemouth +1. So again, if they lose by 1, get money back. I think the line's way too big. Like, I think Bournemouth has been like one of the better teams this season. Like, the way they've been playing last season compared to this season, they're like a totally different team, I'd say, in terms of like, the results, everything. So I know they're going to be without Kepa. He can't play because he's on loan. But however, their backup keeper, when he played earlier against Chelsea, actually was one of the best players. So I feel like he can fill the shoes. Obviously, if Ivan Silenson, whatever his bloody name is, he's out. The other backup striker's out, but I'm sure they'll be able to manage. I just feel like +1 is the way they're playing this season. It's just such a big handicap. I make it more like +1/4, if anything. I would put it. So yeah, I'm hitting it +1 at 1.813.
Sounds like a nap to me. That's what that does. His name's Evan Nielsen, by the way. Cracking pronunciation. In terms of, look, again, I agree. I don't have an official bet on this game, but I agree with everything you said. The other 2 points I'd make are Chelsea are actually winless in 4 games now. So after being on such a good run, they have fallen off a little bit of a cliff.
You're gutted with your, was it 20-1 tip for them to win the league or whatever it was?
I tipped it at 23-1.
23.
Right? And prior to these 4 games, they did come as short as 3-1. Right? So my advice was also consider trading out. That being said, that tip now looks up in smoke. I agree. They're performing pretty badly. And in terms of Bournemouth, they love mixing it with the big boys. Good result against Arsenal. Good result against City. Good result against United. They'll relish this and can absolutely get on board with that. West Ham, Fulham. Is Graham Potter a good managerial appointment?
Yeah, I rate Potter. Um, although, yeah, I think he's a good manager. I know there's a lot of discussions around that, Brighton have a really good setup, so it's easy for anyone to come in, right? Similar to Brentford. But I do think he's a good manager. It shows like he's worked his way up from like the Swedish whatever fifth tier, whatever it was, right? So it's not like he kind of made his name at Brighton. He was a good manager before that. Saying that, West Ham is a difficult job. I said at the start of the season when you said, Lopetegui's coming in, he's going to, drill the team. I said, didn't I say it? I was like, no, like the West Ham, Moise was actually doing a much better job than he was getting credit for. And I stand by that. West Ham's a massive job, and like Potter's a good manager, but yeah, it's going to be tough for them. I feel like they just need to sit in with him. Like, hopefully West Ham finish mid-table and then judge him by next season.
You're just never ever going to let me forget
Nope.
that gentle tip up of Lopetegui at the start.
No.
Fair. I mean, look, ultimately, I agree with Potter being a good manager, and I kind of agree that I'd worry for him at West Ham. He's been holding out for a couple of years for the right job.
Yeah.
I think he is a good manager, but I think he's a progressionist. I'm not sure that he's going to come in and immediately turn things around in the way that West Ham fans will be hoping. And then will they afford him the patience? Will they afford him the time? I'm not sure, particularly not in the way that Brighton did, where he really flourished. So, whether the setup there is absolutely right for him, I do have my doubts. Saying that, I do think he'll get off the mark this weekend. I feel like there will be a new manager bounce. I think the West Ham fans are just so happy that they've got somebody else in instead of Lopetegui. They obviously beat Everton to Potter, which again will be leaving them feeling very good about that. I've just got a weird feeling, actually, that they'll beat Fulham this weekend. Not based on an awful lot, I have to say, but I can just see the London Stadium be rocking with Potter's first game. So I have tipped, and I think the price is very fair. So I have tipped West Ham to win this game at 2.75. I think they'll win 2-1. Have you got anything for this one?
No, but I would say that Fulham are very, very, very slightly better according to my model, like 0.06 goals. So yeah, I mean, I can see this being a tight game in terms of possibly a draw.
But as well, then, if you're saying that Fulham are only 0.06 better, then West Ham being such clear outsiders also then makes the price potentially slightly appealing, right? In terms of, does it constitute value or not?
Well, it's not really value for me. That's why I'm not betting on it. But you obviously got a different mindset.
The winning mindset, yeah.
Mindset of a mug punter.
A mug punter who's not doing too badly this season, I'll have you know. Forest versus Liverpool. Before we talk the game, right? Just want to ask you first. What do you think of the Real Madrid 20 million offer for Trent Alexander-Arnold?
I mean, I guess he wants a new challenge, right? And
if you're Mr. Liverpool owner, would you have taken it?
No.
Why not?
Because he's so key to the team, and if they were like, you can't throw away the league.
Key? Is he that key?
Well, supposedly to the manager, he's key.
Was he key against United?
It's one game.
Yeah, but my point is here, right? They've pretty much you're a
20 mil is nothing to these guys, right? It's not like Brentford. Brentford will be snapping that up probably.
Yeah, but they've already won the league, Liverpool almost, right?
No. I mean, yeah, on paper they have. Well, not on paper. You could say they got a really good chance of winning it, and I do think they win. But now's not the time to take risks.
I think keeping him's a risk. His mind is clearly elsewhere. He was dreadful against United, and we're not just talking about his lack of defensive abilities, which we've all known for years. We're talking about application. We're talking about effort. It was nowhere to be seen. His mind is elsewhere. He is gone. he is already out the door, right? They looked a much better outfit when Connor Bradley came on in place. Connor Bradley is a very, very capable fullback.
Okay, Conor Bradley gets injured. Who plays next?
Well, I mean, yeah, Mo Salah gets injured. Who plays next, right? Ultimately, you can ask these questions about any key player, right, at any time, and it's going to
Jota plays next. That's what happens when Salah gets injured.
yeah, and that's a step down, right? So ultimately, I don't know the Liverpool squad as well as some Liverpool fans will be able to tell me, and they will have an answer for that. All I'm saying is he's going to leave for nothing in the summer, right? In terms of FFP, in terms of balancing books, for a player that's in his mind already gone, what that can do to the overall squad mentality and all of these kind of things. I personally don't think the offer was as derisory as a lot of people are making out. But, you look at him, you look at Salah, and you look at Van Dijk. Which of those players is it most important for them to keep, and which ones will they keep?
Salah.
You think Salah will stay?
Yeah.
Really? They're miles apart in negotiations.
I don't know. I reckon he'll end up staying. Or he lives on a high.
He's
The
making a lot
thing
of
is, Van
noise.
Dijk's 34 now, right? 34, 35?
Gosh knows. Quick Google.
Why am I wrong?
I mean, I personally think we know TAA is effectively going to go. I think that Salah and Van Dijk are
33 years old. He's going to be 34 at the start of next season.
and Salah's the wrong side of 30 as well, right? So I'm
Yeah,
trying
but
to
look at him. I know you say that, but he's got still a few seasons. Like, look, he's smashing it this year, right? People started the seasons, they were saying he's past his best, right?
I'm not arguing against Mo Salah. I think he's incredible, right? But I'm just saying which of them's most important and which of them will stay. The problem is if they're looking to move to Saudi and cash in and make millions and millions and millions. Now is probably the time, right? Would it surprise you if all three went? I think all three might go.
Well, that's why you want to keep him to win the league, because it's like three big players that are leaving, and it's going to be difficult to replace and slot in straight away.
Yeah, and that way
Perhaps.
they get to go on a high and all of those kind of things. But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
all three leave at once. What sort of a hole does that knock in Liverpool next season?
And Buemo, Bosch.
Stop talking up your best player and start putting him out for potential buyers. Anyway, what about the game? Forest Liverpool.
I think Forest have been performing slightly better than probably expected, I think, in terms of like their game against Wolves, right? Wolves created so many good opportunities, didn't convert, like had most of the ball, then Forest on the break, boom, goal, third goal. You can kind of discredit it because Wolves were pumping players up last few minutes. So I feel like this will be a good game to watch, but I think Liverpool will win this game. I have the model says Liverpool are 0.72 goals better, so I feel like they'll win it, but it'll be kind of like a narrow win.
You weren't tempted to play it officially?
Nah, no value in the prices, I'd say.
Okay. I kind of agree. I think it'll actually be quite a narrow game, though. I think if you offered Forest a draw right now, they'd take it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it could easily be a 0-1 or that sort of
Yeah.
result from this game. Okay, let's move on and talk Everton versus Aston Villa. Was getting rid of Sean Dyche the right move?
Last season, like Everton under Dyche were looking really good. Like they were playing some really good football. The results weren't going away, but in terms of like XG and stuff like that, they were actually doing well. This season, I don't know what's going on. Like it just seems like a different team. It's a shame because I really rate Dyche. It's a bit sad to see him go. But they're getting a good manager as well, Moise back in Everton. Obviously, he had that spell. When was that? 20 years ago now? No, 20? Yeah, something like that.
Feels like it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a good appointment. New stadium coming as well, new owners. I feel like Moise could do the business, and I hope he does because he'll prove all those West Ham and United fans wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, my thoughts on it is Dyche is hard done by. He's inherited a squad of not much attacking flair, right? Very, very little. He hasn't been able to put his hand in the kitty and spend some money on players. So in terms of what he's done, he's used the tools they have and he's made them resilient. In recent weeks before his sacking, he's gone to Man City and got a draw. He's made sure that Arsenal, he kept a clean sheet against Arsenal.
Yeah.
He kept a clean sheet against Chelsea. In terms of setting them up and setting their start.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. The timing was a bit strange considering the recent results.
They've had two really poor results since, right? So
Yeah, I know, but
But I feel
what
like
do they expect? I guess the new owners, right? They got like cash now. They're like, look.
But is David Moyes? I don't know if David Moyes is actually that much better a manager than Sean Dyche is. Sean Dyche has never had a chance at a club with money to spend, right? David Moyes had, and he's blown it, right?
Has he blown it?
He blew it at United, right? And that's
Did he? Look at all the managers that came in after him. What have they done?
They blew it too, but Moyes got sacked at United. He got sacked at, was it Sociedad he went to in Spain?
Yeah,
right?
that was obviously a big error.
Right.
Did he go Sociedad?
It was somebody in Spain. But ultimately, you ask the West Ham fans...
Gary Neville.
Yeah, a bit like that. But you ask the West Ham fans in terms of Moyes' style of play, and they'll tell you that it wasn't fun. It wasn't a good watch either, right? So they're getting a manager who employs and will employ a fairly similar style to Sean Dyche. I'm just not as convinced that David Moyes can organise a defence as well as Sean Dyche. And what you could end up having here is a manager, Moyes, who's kind of caught in a go-between scenario of trying to stay tight and resilient, particularly this season to avoid the drop, and trying to make them give them a little bit more attacking output. And what might happen here is he accomplishes neither of those things. I don't like the change in managership. I don't like the change. I think Dyche keeps him up this year 100%. And if you want to make a change in the summer, make a change then. But ultimately, I'm not convinced that Everton fans find the football mind-numbing out from Dyche. Be careful what you wish for, because Moyes ain't going to come in and they're going to suddenly look like Brazil. That isn't going to happen, particularly with the players on the roster. So it could be one of them where you be careful what you wish for. I don't have a tip on this game. I think that it's really hard to say if Moyes is in time and what's going to happen here. It's a few days away. So I would definitely stay away from this game. Villa haven't looked overly convincing on the road. We don't know what we're going to get from Everton. I'd probably sit on the fence and say 1-1, but
yeah,
it's hard to make a real call on this game, right?
Yep. All right, move on to the next.
So we move on. We've got Leicester versus Palace. I'll start in this one. So we've got poor Ruud van Nistelrooy, right? I mean, you talk. I know I listened to Roy Keane talk about him as a player, right? And as a player, Van Nistelrooy, United might win 3-0 in a game, and Van Nistelrooy would, if he didn't score, he'd come off the pitch, he'd sit in the dressing room, he wouldn't talk to anyone, he'd be fuming, right? Even though the team won 3-0.
Really?
Just because he hadn't scored, right? It's exactly what you want.
Like Ronaldo.
Yeah, but it's exactly what you want in a selfish number 9, right? Because he was one of the very, very best, right, in Premier League history. But can you make that personality shift to becoming a manager of a club in dire straits in the Premier League that can't defend? Can you set up a defence in the right way with, one stint in Holland, but apart from that, not enough managerial experience for this kind of role? I just think he's a little bit out of his depth. He's a great guy. He comes across brilliantly these days, and I still love him for what he did back in his United time. But he is not the man that Leicester needed. It was a poor appointment. It was based on impulse because he did okay at United for 3 games. In he's come. Their XG since he's come in has just gone down the drain. Teams look like they're going to score against Leicester every time they go forward against him. And there's absolutely no way that he keeps Leicester in the division. Not a chance, right? So, sorry, Leicester fans. I know that's not what you want to hear. But the appointment wasn't right. And it's a shame if they held off, because somebody like Sean Dyche right now is who Leicester need, right? But they don't have that. And, trying to get an expansive manager like Ruud is trying to run before you can walk for me. So this is definitely a bet for me. We can look at Palace winning at evens. I think Glasner on the other side has done a remarkable job considering the loss of Elise. He's really steadied the ship after a dodgy start.
Yeah,
I think he's destined for great things as a manager. Palace like these kind of games, all over the even money for a Palace victory.
cool. Yeah, I got nothing on that.
Let's move on. We've got Newcastle versus Wolves.
Um, Wolves actually last few games have actually been improving a bit. I thought they played really well against Forest, like I said, despite the result. But I mean, Newcastle being steamrolling teams is strange because they had such a poor start. Brentford smashing 4-2 at home, and then after that they've just been performing really well. So I don't have a bet on this game, but I'd imagine it's going to be a pretty comfortable win for Newcastle.
There we go. I knew it was about time we had a disagreement. So I have got a bet on this game, and I'm going to play Wolves on the Asian handicap, where you can get around even money for the plus 1.5 market. That means that if Newcastle win by 2 goals or more, we lose.
Okay.
Any other result, including a Newcastle win by 1 goal, and we win. I think the new Wolves manager, Pereira's come in, done a fantastic job. They've won the first couple of games. They look an entirely different side than the one that Gary O'Neill left. They look rejuvenated. They were desperately unlucky against Forest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they played Forest for a lot of that game.
Yeah.
So he's really done wonders there. Newcastle have had some brilliant results, but they've also had a lot of tough games in a row now. I look back to a similar game like this where they had West Ham at home and West Ham beat them 3-0. And I think that Wolves Asian, again, to lose by 1 goal or better, is definitely a play at even. So that's an official tip for me. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends on 2-1 Wolves or something like that this game.
Cunha's back for this as well, so
He's back. Did you see it? I mean, how did he manage to get away with that? He bought the guy a new set of glasses and back he comes. I was just
oh really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so after ripping the guy's glasses, the security guard's glasses off his face, he apologized and offered to buy him some new glasses. And back he
more
comes,
than that.
which is phenomenal that he managed to pull that off. Not necessarily in a good way, but back he is, and it should help the bet. Moving on, we've got Arsenal versus Spurs, North London derby.
This could be quite an interesting game because, obviously it's a derby too. I feel like Tottenham are they're in a bad spot with all these injuries. Mm-hmm. However, saying that, despite the injuries, they haven't been performing that bad at times, I'd say. Like they gave Newcastle a good game and that. Obviously, they ended up losing in the end. But yeah, I feel like Arsenal at the moment just too strong. I feel like Arsenal are going to win that quite comfortably, I think.
I'm just getting a bit tired of all the moaning.
Oh, mate, Arteta, honestly.
Seriously.
Him saying the ball has a different flight or something like that.
But yeah, I get that, and that's annoying. I actually felt a tiny bit sorry for him on that one because I feel like
really?
the reporter asked him a question on it and let him.
I
do feel like he was trapped a little bit with that one. I actually felt sorry for him, but every single time a decision's made, there's 4 of them off that Arsenal bench that bounce up and it's arms up and throwing them around. Like
the amount of time wasting they do as well.
I was going to come on to that. I mean, like Ethan Nwaneri, such a young player, such an exciting player. He should not be getting booked in the 42nd minute for time wasting or whatever. That is criminal for a young player who should be encouraged to play fast, maximize opportunities, rather than get in that mindset. Yeah, fine, be a little bit streetwise, but from the 42nd minute onwards and drilling that into young players is not what I want to see for football moving forward. In terms of, Arteta, I think, is an incredible manager as well. I just don't think he needs this side of it. What he's done with this Arsenal team, I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
He's molded that team brilliantly. He's done so much right. And this side, I just think lets him down. He just doesn't need to caper around in the way that he does when the slightest decision goes against him and say things in.
He could never give credit to anyone about the game. Like if they lose, there's always some kind of excuse. It's not like, oh, fair
Yeah,
play,
like,
we didn't play well.
it's like,
It's
oh, it's
just
the worst decision in the world, this. And
yeah,
it's
it's
just
just
like, give us a break. And it's not just him, right? Marco Silva at Fulham is fast competing with him for this title. But ultimately, it's just a side of the game it's just a bit tedious. Stop it.
yeah.
You just don't need to do it, Mikel. I know you're listening right now, so stop it. In terms of the game, I actually think the price is too skewed in favour of Arsenal. Do I think Spurs are going to win this game? Not necessarily. But I don't think we can ignore 7 on a Spurs victory. Right? You look at what they've done away from home against the big teams. They destroyed Man City. They destroyed United. Away from home against the top teams where they know the teams are going to come at them and they can almost play, you have a shot, we'll have a shot. Those are the games that Spurs thrive in. Those are the games that Ange loves setting his team up for. Arsenal have just had a bad result in the Cup at Newcastle. Spurs have just had a good one in the Cup against Liverpool. Morale will be almost higher in the Spurs camp right now. And I'm not saying I think Spurs will win, but what I'm saying is I think that the 7 on a Spurs win price is a little bit too high. So I will be playing that as an official bet. If there's anybody out there that wants to play a little bit safer, you have the Asian handicap option, right? So that's a tip on this one for me. Ipswich versus Brighton. What are you saying?
You go first.
Okay. So basically, it's around this time of year, late January, mid to late January towards March, that the promoted teams really struggle, right? It's just at this point where, you know, the kind of enthusiasm is wearing off, you know, they're tired, it's just one tough game after another, and this is when losing streaks can really come into play. And Ipswich, to be fair, I think they've been brilliant, and they've actually given by far the best account of themselves of all the promoted sides.
You reckon they'll stay up then?
No, absolutely not. Based partly on what I'm saying right now. And I think that, again, it's the same crop of players. They don't rotate much. And I think that ultimately they're going to come unstuck and they're in for a tough few weeks. Now, I think it started with the 4-0 loss at Newcastle. That was the first sign of it. And I think there's going to be other results where they're just a bit open and a bit porous. And I think Brighton will be too savvy for them at Portman Road. So the Brighton win at 1.9 is a good bet, and I will be looking to oppose all 3 of the current sides in the drop zone over the next few weeks, wherever the value is there, because I think all 3 of them will struggle. I don't think there's a doubt in hell that the 3 teams occupying the relegation zone right now are going down either. So Brighton at 1.9 is an official tip. What you got?
Nothing. What I'd say is I think it's going to be a closer game than you think, and I don't think Brighton are necessarily going to win this easily, to be honest. I can see it maybe being a draw.
I'm not saying necessarily easily. I just think Brighton will nick it. Do you think?
I think 1 point. I think that price is too short for Brighton to win.
Okay. Do you think Ipswich will stay up?
Probably not. Just looking at the teams around, you have Wolves, which are improving. Everton, obviously, new manager, game in hand. Well, that came in hand against Liverpool, but yeah, I can't see who they could. The only team they could finish above is maybe like if Everton go on like a really bad spell on the Moyes, or Wolves just, I don't know, doesn't work out for them. But I mean, Leicester and Southampton, I think they're guaranteed to go.
Yeah, Dyche getting sacked could be the best thing that happens to Ipswich. Let's watch this space. And final game is the best team in the world, Southampton playing Man United.
I mean, Southampton. I went to the away day at Southampton. Like before the game, I thought it could be a bit of a tight game. Like
this is a 0-5 in favour of the Brentford Bees.
Yeah,
right?
Southampton. The game before the Brentford game, they played West Ham. And they actually played quite well against Brentford at home. Created nothing. I think the XG was like 0.29, something like that. It was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Them going away to United, as much as I hate United, I think it's just going to be a routine win. I can't see Southampton like getting anything this game.
It would be so typical United. Play the way they did against Liverpool and then drop some points somewhere here. But I think United will win. However, I have identified a bet, my seventh and final bet. This is not one for the Ackers because the price is too big. But I'm going back to
Rashford hat-trick.
Oh, you must be joking.
Bench.
I'm going back to a hat trick of sprints is too hard for him to do these days, let alone a hat trick of goals. But in terms of the game, I'm revisiting a player that I've tipped up before in a Southampton shirt, which didn't quite pay dividends then, but I think it's worth another little tickle now. And it's Taylor Harwood-Bellis to score. We all know that United are still culpable at set pieces. Okay, they're really, really weak in this area. And I think it's Southampton's best avenue to a goal in this game. They've got some good crosses of the ball as well, and the likes of Walker Peters, Dibbling, players like this. And Harwood-Bellis is 23 to score anytime. 23 anytime, and you can get 66 on him to score either first or last. So
2 points on that.
Look, probably more like half a point, but yeah, I'm basically only playing the 23 for half a point, so I've got 6.5 points in play. But you might even find better value on the exchange in the run up, where you might get offered even wider odds. So I would maybe hold off from placing that one just yet, because I think you can get bigger prices on the exchange. But I'm just saying, I think there's value in that. I think Southampton, if they get a few set pieces, definitely have the potential to cause United problems, and Taylor Harwood-Bellis is one of their key marksmen from set pieces. So I just don't think 23 is a terrible price. So let's see.
Not bad.
Right, let's summarise. You've got 2 bets. Remind us of them.
Yeah, Brentford +1 against City, and Bournemouth +1 against Chelsea. That's the 2 bets I got.
Okay, and players that want to combine these bets probably can look at around about 3-1 for that double, right?
Yeah, something like that, just under that.
Cool. All right, for me, so I've mentioned a few there. Again, I'm going to hold off on the Harwood-Bellis and do that separately on the exchange, particularly because of the bigger prices. But my ACCA includes Brentford to score over 1.5 goals against City, West Ham to beat Fulham, Palace to beat Leicester, Wolves on the Asian against Newcastle plus 1.5 goals, so as long as they don't lose by 2 or more. Spurs to beat Arsenal, and Brighton to beat Ipswich. That sixfold brings back a lovely 333. So there you go. You can obviously play a little bit safer if you want. You can perm them as 5 folds or even 4 folds. Or, of course, the most optimal way to make money across the board is to back them as singles. So few different options there, depending on which way you want to play them. But yeah, there we go. It's good to be back in business, mate.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Just for reference, we're recording this before the FA Cup games, so
yeah, we haven't tipped them. And if anybody is betting on the FA Cup third round, go carefully. We don't know who's going to be taking it seriously.
Yeah,
what
wait for lineups
going to be put out. So if you bet on this one, my advice is keep it very, very, very friendly. So good shot on that. Otherwise, we'll sit back, relax, enjoy the FA Cup, and then enjoy some Premier League winners. And we'll see you on the show next time.
See ya.